Hi guys and welcome to Wright. My name's Andy. If you haven't joined the channel before, welcome, and if you have joined the channel before, welcome back. As you would probably know if you've been watching the channel previously, I've been doing a series on making the tools required to make your own hammers. Series has gone for a couple of months because there's been quite a lot of tools to make, as I had none to start with. So first tool I made for people who haven't seen this before was my punch. So that's a handled punch. You can see it here on the other camera. So that'll be used to make the initial hole, punch the eye through. So that was tool number one. I then made my drift, which is just a handheld drift to drift the eye out to the appropriate size and to be used as a handle to hold the billet once I have my eye in the billet, to be able to forge out the cheeks and do the fullers and so on and so forth. So that was that tool. I then made a large set of tongs, which, given this is the size billet I'm going to have, they need to be quite hefty to be able to hold onto a piece of steel to put it in and out of the forge. They're not perfect, but they'll do the job. So that was those. I'll move that over there. I then made this, which is my bolster. It's got a hole in the middle that I can slide my drift straight down through, and also it has these ridges in here that allow the hammer to sit on and protect the fullers that I put in between the head and the body where the eye is and the cheeks. So it protects the cheeks from being deformed on the bottom. That sits nicely in, if I get it the right way around, sits nicely in that hole there so that it doesn't move around when I'm placing my billet on top. So eventually, with a hole in it, it'll sit on there, and that's where it will nestle nicely into the fullers. And the last tool that I made was these hammer tongs. So they are actually really good for manipulating my stock, flipping it around, being able to do my fullers. So I'll probably use these the most of the time whilst manipulating the billet on the anvil or on my swedge block, which is nice and low, so it'll be easier for drifting the eye through. I also made this, which is my guillotine. So that's where my fullers sit, in here and here, so I'll be able to use that nice and secure on the anvil to be able to put my fullers in. Right, so that brings us to today's job, which is taking this billet here, which effectively is, it's about 38mm at the narrow end and about 46mm across that way, and it's also about 120 long. Yes, 122 millimeters long. I'll lose a fair bit. This should come to close to about 1.7 kilo. I think that's getting close to 4 pound. So when I lose a certain amount through just general forging, scale falling off, and my final grind, I reckon I'll end up with about 3.5 pound, maybe less. We'll see. Anyway, that's where we're at today. So I've never made a hammer before. I'll start by heating this entire thing up, getting it, I've marked dead center there with a center punch, and I'll try and find that point with my punch here and start trying to drive a hole through there. Obviously not when I'm sitting down. Okay, no worries. I'll end there and let's light the forge. Righto, she's been in the heat for about 10 minutes, soaking. Probably not punched the hole hot yet, but hot enough to get my mark. Start on that side. I'm just going to use this small punch first, just to get an accurate position. See, now that's offline. So when I get this to try and straighten up a little bit here. Let's see if we can get a mark on here. This one's gone cold, obviously, because it's been sitting on the cold plate. Just off shape. Right, so that should show a center point marked out. And now I shall put him back in, get him hot and start the punching process. Whoops. She's not too bad, reasonably straight. Put him back in. Seems to be working well now. Didn't get through, but I'm getting a lot closer. As you can see, I've got a reasonably good hole in there now. I think it's pretty straight, reasonable. Got him. Okay. Here's my slug. And there's my hole. Not perfect, I know. Didn't expect it to be. Right, got the hole. Now I should be able to try and drift that hole. Got a bit of bulging in there, so now I've got to drift that hole out. I'll put him over there to do it. start drifting. Righto, she's getting a lot closer. Don't know if you can see it, whether I got it lined up, but it's increasing the size and it's looking smoother in there. Having opened it up that much, enough to get that a fair way through, like so, and a bit more when I bash it on. I think it might be time to try and put a few fullers in there, I reckon. I'll heat it up, pull it back out, get some of that scale off it, and see what we can do. Righto. This probably looks a bit haphazard and shoddy, because it is. I'm going to make something more permanent later, but I'm trying this out. What I've done here is I've got my fullers in there ready to go, but my dies in there, my fullering dies in there ready to go, but I want to be able to set them, the fullers, in the exact distance away from the face of the billet, so an exact distance in here all the way around and on both sides. So what I've done is I've set up a jig. I've got a plate across the bottom of here that comes out, two little packers, and then a piece of this hard ox material up here as the end stop. Then when I come in with my billet like this, I can lift this up, slide it in, drop it down, and as long as I'm level, I know that this will be exactly the same distance. I can hit it, flip it over, hit it, flip it over, hit it, so on and so forth. Right, let's see how we go here. Lovely to have a press, wouldn't it? Well, that failed. With jig, that is. Spectacular failure. That's all right, I got my little line in there. Just need to get that one lined up there perfectly. Yeah, happy with that start. Sorry guys, I accidentally forgot to put the camera on last time. I'm getting there in the fullers. There you go. I think that's starting to look pretty good. There we go. I believe I'm almost there on that end. Another view from this camera. I think they're looking pretty good. Fairly even. I'll fix them up later once I've done the other side. Whoops, a bit close there, sorry. Yeah, I'll try and get a bit better on the other side afterwards. I'm going to clean out that eye. Stick the drift down through there after I've done the fullers, because there's a bit of crud developing in there. I'm going to have to stop now and clean out my fire because she's getting a little bit cruddy, as you can see. So I'm pretty happy with that. I believe you'd be able to see in there and see the crud developing both on the hammer and down inside the hole, inside the eye. Don't want that to happen, so I might just drive that into there right now. Just to clean that up a bit. Now you can see that the eye hasn't got all that crud in there anymore. It's been cleaned out quite a lot. Just in case the other camera can't pick it up very well. I believe you can see there it's cleaned out the eye quite successfully. That'll do me for now. Let that cool down. Try and give it a clean up first. Looking a bit better. She's coming along. I'm quite happy with that. Should be able to pick holes in it, but at this stage of my hammer making career, I'm not too disappointed. I'll have to do the other side tomorrow because I've got to go in and have me dinner. I've also got to clean out my fire before I go doing any more. Well, there you have it. I think that went reasonably well for my first attempt at making a hammer, and a couple of things I could have done better, such as organising the jig on my guillotine tool for an end stop. That was very poor, and I'll sort something out better for the next time. But I've put it on the wire wheel since it cooled down, and as you can see, I think that's a reasonable outcome at first. I'll do the same thing on the other side here, and then once I get the fullers in accurately, I shall go about taking the squareness out of these ends, try and get them round. Then I'll try and get out some of these sharper edges. I'll then drift out my eye fully so it gets to pretty much the right size, and start shaping her up. Put my touch mark in it and fit her up with a handle. Okay, thank you very much for watching Forge Wright, and hope you can join me on the next part 2 where I finish this job off. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I wanted to show this video in reasonable length So I've been working up to this video for quite some time, making all those other tools. So I didn't want to cut it too short. Okay, thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and share it with your friends. Bye for now.